Hey, welcome back to the Endo and Fertility Space channel. I'm Cindy, I'm an endometriosis and fertility specialized dietitian. I thought I would do something a little bit different today on the channel than what you may be used to. I have 6 popular TV shows that feature endometriosis scenes, and we're gonna do a little bit of a react style video today. If you haven't already, please be sure to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for all the best endometriosis and fertility content here on YouTube. So the first scene I have is from The Resident. It's season 5, episode 15. So let's have a watch.
Collapsed lung. Where do you want us?
Day 11. Do you have a set of vitals?
Heart rate 120, BP 80 over palp 90, 92% on oxygen.
All right, page Dr. Austin.
Dr. Austin is on his way out of here, but feel free to page Dr. Davey.
You're leaving too?
Yes, sir.
Fair. If I have to stay, everyone else should stay.
I'm here. You leaving?
To visit my mother. Irving is whining like a puppy dog in pain.
You go. I got this.
On my count. 1, 2, 3.
What do you need?
How do you feel about a pneumothorax?
Psych.
This is Mariana. You live in my AR now, Davey.
Mariana, we're first gonna take a listen to your lungs, okay? Henley, can I get a chest tube kit, please? Your right lung is collapsed. I need to do a decompression to help you breathe better, okay? We're gonna numb you first. This may hurt a bit. Chest tube to me. Take a deep breath in. All right, we're in place. Put her back.
I felt like I was about to die.
And you were, dear. But Dr. Davey just saved you like the boss she is.
So I'm guessing she has a collapsed lung due to endometriosis. I have actually connected with quite a few people who have thoracic endometriosis or endometriosis on the lungs. I have connected personally with people who have experienced lung collapse due to endometriosis, and they say that it's a gynecological condition only. I appreciate this show for showing just how severe endometriosis can actually be. It can literally cause lung collapse, and as they just shared in the video, she could have absolutely died from a lung collapse due to endometriosis.
I love you too. Bye. My husband, also an architect, which is why he's here. He's on site of a new project in Memphis. Dual career marriage. I know all about that. And the people who do it with children? Boggles the mind.
Agreed.
My career is all consuming, and I'm a perfectionist. It's a compulsion.
Cough sounds bad. Let me take a listen.
Hey, what's going on?
Hemoptysis in our pneumothorax patient. Her lungs sounded clear, but now...
I feel an air leak. And there's no blood in the chest tube.
Mariana, we're gonna confer for a minute, okay? Okay, so something more serious is going on.
All right, well, give me the differential.
It could be an abscess, bronchiectasis, or even cancer. A CT should help.
All right, well, let's get in the magic box right now.
My gosh, look at the things that they're coming up with for a possible diagnosis. Turns out it's endometriosis, and this is what they were comparing it against. Wild.
It's not an abscess, inflammation, or cancer.
Okay, so what's next?
It's good to rule things out. I am going to circle back with Dr. Austin, and Are you still in pain? Is it your chest?
It's just cramps. Same every month. Oh, they're excruciating sometimes.
Have they always been this bad?
As long as I can remember. Sometimes I even get a nosebleed. It's a real thrill being a woman.
The last time your lung collapsed, were you also on your period?
As a matter of fact, I was. Yeah, I remember I had to ask for pain meds while I was here. Why?
Sit tight. I will be right back. I promise.
Endometriosis, really?
Her pneumothorax coincides with her periods, which are abnormally painful. Isn't it possible that aberrant endometrial tissue from her pelvis traveled through tiny defects in her diaphragm up into her chest?
Where it continues to respond to the hormones of her menstrual cycle, thus wreaking havoc. Yeah, it's definitely possible, but Davey, that's extremely rare.
So is having repeated episodes of pneumothorax with no discernible cause on imaging. What if these aren't random? What if this is evidence of a problem her body's been trying to hide this entire time?
Well, we could get an MRI for a better look. But ultimately, the only way to confirm a catameniopneumo is with surgery. That's thoracic and abdominal. And if we find what you think we will, that could be a hell of a procedure.
I can cure her. I'm ready for this.
Oh, I know you are. Davey, you just pulled off a Conrad Hawkins level diagnosis. Let's get your patient ready and scrub in.
Amazing. She's getting that level of care and a very speedy surgery that we probably would otherwise have to wait months, if not years, to access. But I love that at least they're showing the reality and how severe endometriosis can get. So even though we don't fully know the prevalence of thoracic endometriosis in the endometriosis population, some signs and symptoms to keep your eyes peeled for are chest pain, coughing or wheezing, coughing up blood, dizziness, and or shoulder pain. Okay, next one is YouTube season 18, episode 10, it looks like.
You're gonna stay with me, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're gonna figure this out together. So I treated Francesca for back pain and minor degenerative disc disease, but her pain coincides with her period. She's on oral contraceptives and she has pain with sex.
Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Shepard. Francesca, would you mind if Dr. Wilson examines you?
Go for it.
Thank you. Okay. So, how long have you been having severe pain with your periods?
Since I was the girl sitting on the bleachers for half the month during PE, nothing like 38th graders knowing their menstrual cycle.
Okay.
Such a common experience.
Have you ever been evaluated for endometriosis? It's when the cells that line the inside of the uterus grow outside the uterus, and in some cases the tissue can accumulate in one space.
So that would also explain the back pain, if that's where the tissue built up.
Well, perhaps.
Well, that's wrong. It's nice that they're giving attention to endometriosis on Grey's Anatomy, but as we know, it is not the same as the tissue that lines the uterus.
Okay, the good thing is that it is treatable. When do we start and how long is recovery?
I would say more manageable than treatable. I don't know that treatable is the right word to use there.
We'll schedule a diagnostic surgery, and if endometriosis is present, we'll do what we can to try and remove it when you're ready.
The sooner the better. I've got things to do, and by things, I mean my new boyfriend.
Never underestimate the value of pain-free sex. Let's see if we can get it done today.
Yeah.
Again, really nice that it's such a speedy surgery. Most of us have to wait several months or even several years, but that's a little bit unrealistic. Also, as we know, surgery is not a cure for endometriosis, although it certainly can be helpful for managing symptoms and improving quality of life. So, Grey's Anatomy, thanks for bringing awareness to it, but not overly accurate.
So, how long have you had this pain?
2 days, but it's getting worse every hour.
Any other symptoms I should know about? Fever, vomiting?
Does dry heaving count?
Have you experienced these symptoms before, Miss Bennett?
Cassie, I have endometriosis, but this is way worse than normal.
Have you spoken to your OBGYN about these new symptoms?
Yes, I have, and they can't see me until next week, but the last time I saw her, she just told me to get pregnant. At least then I'd have 9 months of relief.
Right, well, I've heard that comes with its own set of side effects.
At least they're accurately representing what are the most common recommendations for endometriosis symptom management.
Look, the adhesions for endometriosis can cause severe pain. Unfortunately, it's a chronic issue, and there's really not too much we can do for a flare-up here in the emergency department. So
I know.
Also appreciate that that's a pretty accurate and honest representation of what it's like going into the emergency room with chronic pain.
I know. Look, and I know what you're thinking, okay? Woman with endo comes in, suffering from a flare-up, is afraid it's something worse, and it never is, and there's nothing you can do for her. Look, I have been through this more times than I can count, all right? I've been told to go home and take pain meds and sleep it off, and I have done all that. And
Are you here by yourself?
My boyfriend's out of town. Look, you're just gonna have to trust me on this, okay? I know my body, and this pain is different.
What's your story, Dr. Curtis?
This scene is really heart-wrenching. If you're watching and you're somebody with endometriosis, it makes me want to tear up because it's such an accurate representation of what people with endometriosis go through. Probably one of the most defining experiences of living with endometriosis is feeling alone, feeling like you're not believed, feeling like it's all in your head when in fact you're suffering so bad and you just really desperately need somebody to listen to you, to be on your side and take your pain seriously. So this scene from Transplant is, it's very heart-wrenching.
Emergency walk-in, I'd like to do a lab 2. I think the cause of her pain.
Endometriosis. We both know we don't do elective procedures for chronic problems.
Yes, but...
Likely having a flare-up.
I did a transvaginal ultrasound and...
Nothing's conclusive on that.
There have been cases where imaging has missed ovarian torsion, even a ruptured cyst. Her abdomen's distended, she's in extreme pain, and I am concerned it could be more than endometriosis.
Are you? Or are you fishing for OR time?
You know, I want the operative time, but that doesn't mean my patient is wrong about her pain being acute.
Dr. Curtis, endo's tricky. Women can feel one thing one day and something completely different the next. The pathophysiology of uterine nerves.
They're complex.
And often don't correspond to what's happening internally. And every time we go in there, we run the risk of doing more harm than good. Surgical intervention is not an option in the absence of extremely clear evidence, which you simply do not have here. She should follow up with her OBGYN, send them the ultrasound, otherwise give her Toradol or send her home to rest.
Oh gosh, how typical is that? Give them meds, give them ibuprofen, give them paracetamol, and send them home. Good job, Transplant. This is actually a really accurate representation of our experiences in the ER as people with endometriosis. The surgeon is making some really good points. She's expressed that it could be ovarian torsion or it could be something more significant. And that very, very often comes with having endometriosis. That very, very often comes with extreme pain. And that's part of what makes endometriosis so tricky, right? Is that, yes, your baseline is already extreme chronic pain. And then when something like ovarian torsion or a burst cyst happens, oh gosh, you can end up in so much more tricky of a situation because your baseline is already extreme pain, but now something more serious, life-threatening is happening. And really, we just need doctors who will listen and take our side in these cases, which is, anyway, really accurate representation, I feel like, the patient experience with endometriosis here in this clip.
64-year-old female, arterial brain.
Aneurysm at 4 centimeters. Let's keep her under observation.
Miss Bennett.
You're sending me home.
Well, your imaging didn't warrant further action. But we will forward it to your OBGYN for follow-up. In the meantime, I did give you some anti-inflammatories for the pain. So if it gets any worse...
What? Come back? It's already worse. Look, please don't be like the rest of them. Don't do this.
You can take your time getting dressed.
She's back.
What happened?
I got 2 blocks away and threw up. You told me to come back if it got worse. They just gave me this bucket and told me to wait here. I was trying to make it to the bathroom, but I couldn't. Come on. I need someone
Okay. All right. Let's go. Dr. Singh? Dr. Singh, the endometriosis patient I brought you earlier?
That was in her home.
We did, and she's back in agony. She's vomiting, she's hemorrhaging, which we both know are signs of a ruptured cyst and not just chronic endo pain. She needs surgery now.
Broken arm, stat.
And I want to stay on to see this patient through.
Ugh, that is so frustrating. Why did this girl have to be in so much pain, start bleeding through her clothing, faint, probably in public, being put in a super embarrassing situation? Why did she have to go through all of that? Why couldn't she have just been taken seriously the first time? And it's heartbreaking because I know that so many of you watching this can absolutely relate to that.
It's your call. If it is ruptured, it's good we got it when we did.
It was a difficult surgery. In addition to the extensive scarring from the endometriosis, she also had a hemorrhaging ruptured cyst. And as a result of the damage, we had to remove one of your ovaries.
I lost an ovary?
Well, the good news is we got in time to save the other one. You told us that it was more serious all along, and the system's just not good at dealing with chronic pain, so...
You don't know what it's like to be dismissed and ignored, told what you feel isn't real.
Cassie, I just wanted you to hear someone say you were right.
I know I was.
Yeah, I wish that was good enough. I wish it was good enough to be told that you're right. With the average time to diagnose this being somewhere between 7 and 10 years for most women, and endometriosis being a progressive condition, think about how much damage could be done depending on where the endometriosis is located, even just separate from 7 to 9 years of chronic pain. So really, really good representation of other complications that can come with having endometriosis, how it can present in such a complex fashion where, again, you're dealing with chronic pain, that's your baseline, and yet the pain can get worse, indicating something more severe or something more serious. Perhaps in this scenario, if she had been taken seriously many, many years prior, maybe she could have saved her ovary. So again, just a really nice representation of how endo is not just a gynecological condition, it's a body-wide condition. It affects organ function, it affects being able to have organs function optimally. So overall, I would say this is a pretty good representation of endometriosis in popular media. Okay, next one is Virgin River. So Virgin River's scene is in season 5, episode 1 and 2. They have a conversation about endometriosis.
Oh my God, sewing is no joke. I mean, I thought I could fix the rip in my robe, but apparently sewing silk is not for beginners. Do you want to sit?
Thanks.
Yeah.
I am desperate for some new energy. When I come back here, it's a parade of the usual suspects who I haven't seen since high school, and it always starts with, "So, what are you up to these days?"
So, what are you up to these days?
You're funny.
So, I escaped to Virgin River, and it sounds like you escaped from it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not all bad. It's just being back here, it's so quiet and slow. Really gives you time to think.
Yes, it does.
I hate that.
You're funny.
You should know. Mom said so many wonderful things about you. How you helped her through some dark times.
She was a really special woman.
So, what were you escaping?
Oh my God, Ava, are you okay? Listen, I know we're just kind of getting to know each other, but when you came out of Dr. Kane's office today, you seemed a little off. Just like you had a lot on your mind.
Thought I covered pretty well. How could you tell?
Nurse's intuition.
A few years ago, I had laparoscopic surgery for endometriosis. I always knew there was a chance it could recur, but it's back. That's it.
I'm so sorry. So the pain you had last night, that was an endometrioma.
Yeah, luckily it didn't rupture. But the tissue's definitely spreading again. Yay for me.
So what's your plan, treatment-wise?
I mean, I could always get another procedure to try to remove the tissue, but I've lived with the pain for so long that Dr. Kane thinks that I should consider a hysterectomy.
Oh. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. Maybe I'll just do it.
But you know, it's a really big decision. You should think about it. I mean, were you planning to have kids someday?
You know what? Why don't we just talk about something else? Or, we should just get the check.
Yeah.
Yeah, Virgin River's representation is interesting. Endometrioma pain, whether it ruptures or not, definitely can be something that's very, very severe. Takes your breath away for sure. Can leave you kind of huddled over in pain, absolutely. The realities of recurring endometriosis post-excision, absolutely very realistic as well. She did present the option of having a second repeat surgery. Many of us go through multiple surgeries. I've connected with multiple people who are on their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th surgery. So definitely a reality for sure, living with endometriosis. And then of course it's so realistic to be suggested hysterectomy for managing symptoms of endometriosis. Hysterectomy is a very tricky option for management. It is not strictly a uterine condition. And so by removing the uterus, very often you will get relief from not having periods anymore, right? Because you're not getting that uptick in inflammatory prostaglandins needed to shed the uterine lining, but you can still get pain related to lesions being in other parts of the abdomen or other parts of the body or on other organs. So still not a cure. It is a cure for adenomyosis, not a cure for endometriosis. And I thought that the character who has endometriosis, I thought that her reaction to that suggestion was very realistic. It's a very difficult decision. She's obviously a very young woman in this series, and so maybe she hasn't fully thought through whether she wants to have children or would like to have children someday. And she's, you could tell she's considering it, and I thought her reaction was very realistic, something that she's not quite ready to discuss. She's realizing the realities of living with endometriosis, that it will continue to spread, that it has spread from the first time she's had it removed. So overall, I felt like her reaction to the endometrioma pain was a little bit bizarre, but overall, I would say the options being presented to her, the fact that she's had excision surgery and then now the endometriosis has reoccurred, I think all very realistic. I think her reaction to being presented with hysterectomy as an option is also very realistic. So, okay. I'm not familiar with the show. It's called Irreverent, but I have a clip here that I want to review about Endo.
Wait, actually, yeah.
So, Daisy, how have you been?
Good.
I have asked you in today.
I've got cancer, haven't I?
Oh, no cancer. There's no signs of tumours or cysts of any kind, which is really good news.
So, it's all in my head. I'm crazy.
No, Daisy. The pain isn't imaginary. It's very real. I think you have a condition called endometriosis. Do you know what that is? It's where tissue, very similar to the lining of the uterus, grows outside the uterus. And it can be extremely painful. The only way for me to confirm that diagnosis, though, is with an operation. It could be anything from $5,000 to $10,000. Or we can put you in the public system and I can put you on a waiting list. I won't lie to you. It could be years. Endo is considered elective surgery.
Okay, yeah. I think really realistic representation. I appreciate that the doctor is very realistic, very reassuring of the patient. I think that in this particular scene, the patient does look quite young, so I think it's realistic when you're very young, unfamiliar with endometriosis, maybe none of your friends or family members have experienced similar symptoms. I think it's realistic to expect the worst, like something like cancer or, you know, some kind of condition that's maybe life-threatening. Not that, I mean, I think an argument can be made that endometriosis can be life-threatening in some scenarios for sure. So I think that's very realistic. I think the doctor was very helpful in explaining the realities of the cost of having endometriosis surgery. It is very expensive, especially if you're in the US or if you're in the UK or in Europe or really elsewhere in the world as well. A lot of people, even in like the Canadian health system, travel elsewhere to have surgery because it's just simply not accessible in Canada. So I think that that's very realistic. I think, you know, that she expressed that she can put her in the public system and then she'll have to wait is a reality for many of us. I myself had to wait 15 years for a formal diagnosis through laparoscopy, so I think that that's a very, you know, accurate representation. I also appreciate that in this particular clip, she said endometriosis is tissue that's similar to the lining of the uterus, so at least they've made that differentiation that it's not exactly identical, like in the case of the Grey's Anatomy clip. So overall, I think pretty accurate representation. I think the doctor was compassionate and overall would say a good representation of endometriosis in popular media. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.